Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ellis Nordhoff, and today I'm joined by Dan Lawless from West Ham Fan TV to do the opposition view on Everton's game against West Ham on Sunday at 1 p.m. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good mate, good mate. Well, yeah, not so good after the result in the Europe, but looking forward to getting back into Premier League action at home. So yeah,
Been
so
a
so.
difficult week, hasn't it, for you guys with the defeat to Aston Villa and then a defeat to Olympiacos as well. How are you feeling about West Ham at the minute?
I'm feeling really weird. I'm in a weird place with West Ham because we've started the season so well and everything was so positive. We've come back from the international break, and the manner of the defeat and the performance against Villa, and then the same against Olympiacos, it just puts you in a weird state of like, okay, were they just blips, or is this going to be an ongoing trend, which is going to bring us into this game Sunday, which is huge now because that's going to really tell us about where we are.
West Ham are currently sat in ninth on 14 points, and you've won a few, you've won four, you've lost three, so it's been a bit of a mixed season in general, really, hasn't it? But it was what would you have expected really at the start of the season? Were you thinking, is it build on the previous season, build on that trophy win? How important was Europe and how important is the Premier League to you guys this season?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge, Europe, because it's our third season in Europe. We had a big win last time around, and it's just one of them things, unless you're one of the greedy six or whatever them sort of clubs, you never know how long you're going to be in Europe for. Like similar like Everton the last few years, you had that you qualified for Europe, and then you're up, and then you're down, and you
Yeah.
just never know. So while you're in Europe, you want to make the most of it and go as far as you can. So it is important, but at the same time, we want to stay in Europe. So we don't want to let our league form slip. So it's difficult. It really is.
It's difficult to play on Thursday and then Sunday, isn't it? It really does have an impact on the players, and you have to have a really deep squad for that. And of course, David Moyes now has got a trophy under his belt, the Europa Conference League that you guys won last year. What do you think of David Moyes? Because, of course, he's a commonality between both clubs. We like him from his time at the club, 11 years at Everton, but he's arguably done better at West Ham since he's gone there. And do you like him? Because there's been times where people have been saying, oh, should West Ham sack Moyes? He's nearly lost his job multiple times, but it seems pretty stable now, I'd say.
Yeah, I've got a love-hate relationship with David Moyes. I was definitely one of the vocal voices that wanted him out last season. I was when we hired him back, I was like, why? Why are we doing this? And it's just a weird one for me. Like with things with David Moyes, when things are going well, you love him, right? You love him. But when you're losing, it's so frustrating because it's the style of football that is very frustrating, and his stubbornness at times, which gets very frustrating, and his lack of proactivity in games, game management. It gets so frustrated. If I had hair, I'd be pulling it out. So, so yeah, like at the moment, I said last season after trophy, okay, I'll give him. Let's look. I'm going to review him after 10 games in the Premier League. This is game number 10, Everton, and we're going to see where we're at. I'm giving him a chance, and it's a weird one, and I think this Everton game is going to really dictate to me how I'm feeling about Moyes in a big way this season.
So it's a crucial game for you guys as well as us because we really need the win. We don't want to be losing back-to-back games. Obviously losing the derby's disappointing, and we had seen a bit of an upturn in form in recent weeks, having won 3 and 4 at one point with the Luton game in between, which we definitely won't talk about. But there has been an improvement recently, and I think this season in general, the performances have been better than the points that we've actually ended up with. And I think Evertonians are going into the game at the London Stadium with a bit of confidence now. The Derby performance was nothing to be criticised at all. We missed out because of a very dubious decision, really, in the end that caused us to lose. And that wasn't the red card; that was Canate not being sent off. But to lose, that's disappointing. But I think the performance gives us enough belief that we can go and do something against you guys. But it sounds like it's crucial to you too. How can you see the game panning out? Do you think is it something that you should just easily beat us, or do you think that it'll be a tight game?
Look, it's definitely going to be a difficult game. I feel like if correct me if I'm wrong, you've done better away from home than home this
We have this
season,
season,
right?
yeah.
Performances, yeah, have been better away. But in the grand scheme of where both clubs are at this season and what we're looking to do, we're at home. Like we should win this game, and there's no sort of disrespect to Everton. Obviously, you've had the problems that you've had on and off the pitch. Yeah, and we've spent money, we've signed quality players like Kudus, Alvarez, Ward Prowse, and the only games that we've lost in the league this season have been Man City, Liverpool, and now Everton, who are on really good form, Everton away, and haven't lost at Villa Park in a long time. So for us, on the basis of that, like this Everton game, we should win this game. Should. If we lose this game, then that's going to change a lot of things about our perspective. That no more of this. Oh, well, we've only lost to the teams that you kind of, would expect us to lose to. No, it's like, okay, maybe we have a real problem on our hands and we're not as good as we thought we were. So, yeah, I've said it. Like, there's no scenario in my head. I'm not having it, right? I'm not accepting it. We have to win this game. No
Simple as that.
excuses. It's simple as that. Like, if we have any ambitions of competing, not even just even qualifying for Europe, but competing with the other teams, the Brightons, the Aston Villas, Chelsea's, or whatever, for a European spot, we have to win these games. We got a favourable run of fixtures in our next 5 games. We got Everton, Nottingham Forest, we've got Palace, Brentford, and Fulham, I think those sort of 5 games. So it's all games where now this is a chance for us to go on a good run, and it starts here. If we lose this, it's going to really put some negativity back into the fan base and the team, and it's going to put pressure on, and it's going to really change the whole perspective of the season, I think.
I suppose it becomes 3 defeats in around 10 days, then, doesn't it? And that is when the pressure piles on. And you look at the quality that you guys have. Like you say, it should be expected that you guys get the 3 points here, really, because the likes of Mohamed Kudus is an option. You don't even have to start him. And, you've got so much quality. James Ward-Prowse, I'm extremely worried about him. If we give away any set pieces, then I'll be absolutely terrified. You've brought in a lot of really good quality players, haven't you? And you've also got Lucas Paqueta as well, who's been really good actually since the end of last season. I think he's kind of come into his own a bit, and the midfield quality is the part where I think Everton fans will be most worried, because you could really just overpower us there, whether it's the physicality of the likes of Suchek if they, or Alvarez if they play, or just the technical quality of Paqueta and Ward-Prowse. Do you think that's your strength as well?
Yeah, definitely. We have players that are really good technically on the ball, who can pass the ball around. Ward-Prowse, funny, he hasn't scored a set piece for us yet,
Don't say
but
that, mate. Don't say that.
he's waiting. It's one more till he equals David Beckham's record at free kicks. We're
Every
waiting for.
Evertonian is thinking the exact same thing right now. I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah, it's. I'm dying for it. He's come close a few times, but he's assisted a few corners, which we've been very deadly from again after really not being so good with set pieces. And I remember it's probably improved with Sean Dyche, but that was a big weakness for Everton. I remember it was a few seasons ago we played you, and it was a massive weakness, and we just hardly had any corners. We didn't create any corners, and it was so frustrating.
It has become what I thought it would be completely eradicated under Sean Dyche, but it's become a bit of a problem, really. And set pieces are what led to us losing to Luton, which was obviously disastrous. And I think this is the game where we have to be on it with those. It's going to be fine margins. If we are to win this game, it will be tight. And if we concede to a set piece, you just put yourselves on the back foot then. And when you've got someone like James Ward-Prowse, who is just on the money every time, isn't he? I think that is something that Everton fans will be thinking, that's where West Ham catches out. And looking at Everton ourselves, I think the way to beat you guys would be sitting in and hitting you on the break. I think we're not going to go toe to toe with your technical players because we don't have the same technical quality. But if we can hit you on the break and perhaps nick one, if I was to see Everton winning, I imagine it would be a smash and grab. Could you see the same?
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously we've been one of our strengths is playing on the counter attack, and we're not really going to be able to do that in this game. And that can be a big problem for us sometimes is breaking teams down. We're used to teams coming out, and exposing themselves at the back, and us just hitting them on the break. And it's been very effective. But this game, we're going to have to find a way to create those chances and to break Everton down. When you do maybe make those counter attacking your counter attacks. Yeah, and that is going to be a difficult one. This is why the team selection is going to be key, and there's going to be a lot of fans with their eyes on the lineup because Moyes, as we know, does not like to change things up. He has one plan, and if that don't work, then you're screwed. And that's why we need to see the likes of Kudus play this game. He has to start because he has that technical ability to play around and through players. So yeah, that's going to be key. But yeah, I think you playing the counter-attacking football, I think that's going to make it very difficult for us for sure. If you're playing deep and you're soaking up the pressure, we're going to have a sort of difficult time. However, the one thing I will say is if you're sitting deep, there's a good chance that we'll be taking, shots towards your goal and creating a lot of corners. That is the
Yeah.
downside. A lot of corners could come from that, and that's why maybe you do play a Suchek because if we're going to get a lot of corners, more Prowse whipping them in, we're
Yeah.
going to score one at some point if we keep getting them.
I suppose that's it, isn't it? If you play a really deep defensive line, you're inviting long range shots, which do just win your corners, don't you? And I imagine Dyche will have to make sure the tactic involves limiting set pieces, not diving in on the edge of the box. We absolutely can't, and not conceding corners as well, like you say. So it'll be very interesting to see how Everton set up. But you touched on the West Ham line up there. Tell us about what you think. How do you think West Ham are going to set up? Because you called for Kudus to start there. We've got a lot of history with Kudus. He very nearly signed for Everton. Of course, Emerson Palmieri will miss this game because of his accumulation of yellow cards. So, what do you think? How do you think you will line up? But what do you want as well?
Yeah, and that's going to be two very different things. I tell you that.
Right.
Uh, yeah, Ariola will start, and then you have Sufal, Zuma, and Aguerd back in, which I all agree with. Creswell will play, the Liverpool fan Creswell.
Yep. Know all about him.
Yeah, yeah. Aaron Creswell, because like you said, Emerson, thankfully he's back from injury now because he was on the bench against Europe, against Olympiacos. So he'll come in for Emerson, which I can't argue with because we ain't got any other left backs. And then you'll have, I think, in midfield, Alvarez, Ward Prowse, and Suchek. I think he'll go with. And then I think you'll have Bowen on the right, Paqueta on the left, and Antonio up front. That's what he will do. I would drop Suchek, and I would probably put Kudus in there, and play Kudus on the left and put Paqueta in the middle.
Right.
That's what I'd rather see. Antonio hasn't been great, to be honest, but our striking options are so limited. Danny Ings just does not fit this team at all. He's
Goal
just
scorer though, and he loves a goal against Everton.
well, maybe we'll bring him on in later on, and but that's the thing. He's a goal scorer that we don't play to his strengths.
Yeah.
Like you're not putting him in a position to score the goals or have chance. He's just anonymous. It's like playing with 10 men.
Really.
So apart from we've got the youngster Mubama, who everyone's really excited about, but can't get a look in. So it's Antonio or nothing, to be honest. So yeah, that's what I'd go with versus. So it's not too much different based on what we can do, but yeah, Paqueta's best in the middle, and Suchek. We need a little bit more creativity in the midfield if we're going to break you down, really.
Yeah.
But
I think
if we're
that's
going to
right,
get a lot of
actually.
set pieces, you have him. How are you in terms of attacking set pieces? Because we sometimes have Suchek to help defend him.
I wouldn't say it's as big a strength as it should be. We really should be a lot better from them, but we have got the numbers in there and the players. We've got one of the tallest teams in the league, but so do you guys. And Jared Branthwaite will be in there, James Tarkovsky, Amadou Onana. So there is height there, but I think the delivery in recent months hasn't quite been up to the standard. If Dwight McNeil's on corners and James Garner, I'll be confident about that then. But I think we need to get better at it as a team because we have to make use of these attributes that we have. Being one of the tallest teams in the league, why not make the most of set pieces? It can be so crucial in games, can't they? You guys
Yeah,
have succeeded so much from set pieces being a key part of your game. Of course, that's not the only part of your game, but it's been important.
yeah, and the delivery, like you said, I think this season has really changed things for us because the delivery of set pieces last season was awful. That's why we barely scored any, and that set piece, the fact because the season before we was one of the top teams for scoring set pieces, I think, with Liverpool. And then once we took away our set pieces, like our goals just dipped massively in terms of the number of goals scored. It really dried up. And now bringing Ward Prowse in, where the delivery is so much better, we're scoring them again. And obviously, Everton have been really struggling for goals this season. Really found it difficult to score. So if he was able to add set pieces and be effective on them, especially with the way that you play under Daesh, you're going to pick up points. But if you can't get that right, being like a low block team, well, then you're not going to score goals, and you're going to lose and draw games, and you're not going to pick up enough points to survive. So yes, Daesh needs to get that on. I don't know if you've got like a set piece coach, but he needs to solve that problem.
But you guys have, well, there's in 4 out of the last 6 games that we've played, it's ended 1-0 to either team. And I do remember at Goodison, you guys beat us 1-0 one season, and it was just from a set piece, and that decided the game. And I think, in games like that, we really need to make the most of those fine margins, and hopefully we can do that. But it can't be our only threat. If we're to beat you at the London Stadium on Sunday, we need a lot more than just that. But if you look at our team, what parts are you worried about, and what particular players are you thinking could cause you a problem?
Yeah, obviously I think Onana is definitely obviously a player that we tried to sign and something went wrong with it.
He picked
We've had
Everton, didn't he?
That's what the Everton fans say. Oh, he chose Everton. He chose Everton. I heard, yeah, that there was something in terms of we'd mugged him off or something, or the owners. But yeah, maybe he did pick Everton. But Pyatt picked us
Oh
over
yeah,
Everton.
true. I'll give you that. To be fair, I wish he hadn't.
And yeah, I tell you what, yeah, that season, unbelievable. But yeah, so yeah, I think he's definitely someone that has energy, can drive with the ball in midfield, and make things happen and sort of pick the game up by the scruff of the neck at times. I think Beto is someone, I don't know whether he'll start, but he looks like a bit of a handful to me. I think he can be someone that can cause problems. He's not looking like that prolific goal scorer that maybe Everton really need, but he looks like someone that can maybe cause defenses problems and open up space for other players to create chances. So yeah, I'm not sure Calvert Lewin what state he's in. I think he's back fit,
He's
isn't he? He's
fit.
playing.
Yeah, he's likely to start ahead of Beto, but you might see Beto from the bench.
Yeah, Beto looks like he's one of them players that he can come off the bench, tired legs. You've got to deal with him. So obviously Calvert Lewin, yeah, definitely when he's on his game, he's a handful for sure. So those are sort of players. Like this is the thing, we've been scoring goals, but we've been leaking goals. That's our big
Right.
problem. Is our defense. So it's going to be the attacking players like those players that I'm most worried about. So we need to be on our A game. No silly mistakes. So yeah, obviously Pickford is going to be someone that we're going to, if we're looking to win this game, someone that we're going to have to try and beat. I always defend Pickford quite a bit when other fans go, "Oh, I can't believe he's in goal," and it's like, no, he's probably Everton's most consistent performer.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's sort of made him look bad that Everton people just look, oh, Everton have been in relegation battle, so Pickford shouldn't be England's number one. Well, no, he has to face a lot of shots, and he pulls off some great saves, and he's sometimes he's won Everton points in games.
Oh, he
So
has. Absolutely. Jordan's won us points over the years, and he is England's number one without a doubt. There's no question about it. And, you should be worried about him because he really can just keep us in a game. And if he keeps us in a game, that's where I see us then potentially nicking something on the break. It might be a case of he gets peppered for 20 minutes or so. As you get, and when you're playing away from home, you're going to have spells, aren't you? It's going to happen in the game where West Ham are on top. West Ham are creating chances, but we rely on Jordan Pickford sometimes. But I do hope that in front of him, we restrict the chances because James Tarkowski and Jared Brownthwaite look like quite an assured partnership now. So I'm hoping you don't get too many chances. But for me, I'd be looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin as the man because he has scored a couple against you guys before and he's hit a bit of form now. And I'm hoping that this is no more injuries from Dom and he'll hopefully get through this game as well. But I'm
Mate,
feeling
I've been there
relatively
with
confident.
players.
Have
Do you
you?
know?
Danny Ings.
Yeah, we well, not Dan. Do you know what? He hasn't been injured, and then but he's just been anonymous. But we had it with Andy Carroll.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we had it with Antonio. It was like if he could just stay fit, and he stayed fit, and he got worse. Like, so it was like, wow, he was better when he was injured all the time. You'd see him from a short spell, banging goals, and he pulled his hamstring.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get to that with players that you're just like, oh, this player is so good if he could just stay fit, and then you're just constantly in that state of hope. And then next thing you know, like that, you know, they're out the door, and you look back on their career and go, wow, that was underwhelming. It didn't live up to what it should be. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be one to watch. It's all about how many chances you can create for him, and that's the thing, your creativity. You know, Dwight McNeil has definitely been hit or miss. I think a bit more miss at Everton.
Would you say so?
He's had his moments. Yeah, I think he's had his moments in games, but you know, he's had some shockers as well. Like he will pop up with, you know, a good goal or something or a great cross every now and then. But I think it seems to be a little bit too few and far between, in my opinion, for McNeil.
He did
Maybe,
struggle to settle in at the start, I'd say, but I think
yeah.
he has come on leaps and bounds under Dyche, to be fair to him.
Yeah, I guess Daesh obviously is he's, you know, old manager, so maybe Daesh knows him a bit more.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but yeah, I mean, in terms of creativity, I don't know how much you have that you feel like, yeah, okay, Calvert Lewin's going to get, you know, a good few chances to in the game.
It's crosses into the box for me. It's Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil, balls into the box to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That's where we're going to get our goals, I think. But it's time
What
for a
about Jack
prediction now.
Harrison?
Oh, go
Do you
on.
know what I mean?
Go on. So let's
No, I
talk
was
about
going to
Jack Harrison because I love him.
no, because it was one of them. You know what? Like, it was one day, right? It was a game that, and I saw like Jack Harrison or something in the town. I was like, wait, when did they sign Jack Harrison? And I think you got him on like loan or something.
On loan, yeah. We were
And I
competing
was
with Aston
like,
Villa.
because we were linked with him. I don't think we actually approached, but I kept seeing Jack, and I was like, yeah, I'd have a bit of Jack Harrison. I like Jack Harrison. And you know, I speak to the Leeds guys. I was like, oh yeah, it'd be good if you can get him. And we were linked to him for like 20 odd million or something. And all of a sudden, it's like you got him on loan. I'm like, that's ridiculous. How did that even happen? Like, how is this, Mr. Leeds?
Leeds, they had a
On
clause in
loan?
the contract for relegated players. They could go on loan, and we got very lucky to get that one over the line, really.
That is, I mean, how is he? I have watched a few Everton games. I watched the Luton game. I watched the Brentford game. So I've watched a few games, but overall, I haven't actually paid too much attention to Jack Harrison. So I don't know how he's been.
He's only just come back from injury, to be fair to him, and he works very hard. You can tell he's got a wand of a left foot, and I imagine we'll be looking out for a potential Jack Harrison special. I don't know if you saw his goal against Bournemouth, but another one of those at the London Stadium would be nice.
Mate, I'm still having nightmares when we were chasing top four and he got that hat trick against us for Leeds at London Stadium. I do not want to see a repeat of that. That was awful.
Well, I do, mate. I do. So maybe I should go with 3-0 Everton in my prediction here, but I'll let you go first. Go on, give us a prediction.
Oh, do you know what? I'm gonna say 2-1 West Ham because clean sheets are very rare for us at the moment. I think we've got one this season in a cup game. I don't think we've got one in the league yet. Top of my head, but yeah, so we just don't keep clean sheets, so I think we'll concede. But I have to believe that we've got enough there to beat Everton at home. And if we don't, questions will be asked, and I will be asking them. And when I do my 10 game review of Moyes, that's going to be a big factor.
You'll be grilling Moyes then if you get beat.
Yeah, Do you know what? I'm really nervous for this game because even though we should be going into it feeling like we're the favourites, there's such a cause for an upset, and I still both sides we still don't know exactly what we're going to be this season. We don't know if Everton's starting form was just a blip, and like I said, you've got a few players back from injury, and if you're going to kick on and actually that's not the Everton we'll see all season. And if that same way is representative West Ham, and if we're going to be, as good this season, this is going to tell us, I think, quite a bit about both teams. I suppose if you lose, you'll be like, okay, we've lost away from home. Unless we smash you, you might think, okay, that was a difficult fixture away from home. We can move on. But for us, we're going to go, that was one of the games we should be winning. So, yeah, it's going to be very eye opening.
I think I'm going to go with 1-0 to Everton. And I do think the win is more important than you actually made out there for us because we have a deficit now of points. We've dropped points against teams that we should have beat. So we need to start picking them up where we're not expected to. We are a bit behind in terms of the place we want to be in if we want to stay in the Premier League. And I feel like we need to go and beat West Ham. And it would be a massive statement to show that, we have put that blip behind us and we are going to move ahead and be better now. But before we go, I've got one final question for you. We always ask one random question at the end of this show. And I want to ask you 3 people, whether it's actors, celebrities, footballers, anybody that you'd love to sit down and have a meal with. Who would it be and why?
Okay. So I think footballers, I need like a West. Is this alive? People that are alive or?
It can be, yeah. I don't mind if they're dead, but they're alive
Okay.
at the dinner. They are not like dead at the dinner, of course.
Yeah. They're gonna. We'll bring them back to life. There's not. Yeah, I would say John Lyle, former West Ham manager who won us 2 FA Cups, legendary figure at the club. And yeah, I would love to talk to him and just hear some great stories about those days. I think the people from that era of football, that mythic era in football, were a lot more interested in the modern day footballers who are just so media trained and
More
have
stories,
lived.
I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. More stories when football was more interesting. Oh, and I've lost my light. And then yeah, another one. I'd say Keanu Reeves seems like a really great bloke, and yeah, just someone that you'd like to go for a drink with and chat to. And I'd say another one, George Lucas. I love Star Wars and stuff like that, so I'd really love to pick his brain and go, why did you sell it to Disney? You know.
Good
Uh,
selection, mate. Good selection. I
yeah,
think
that's what I could top of my head.
you've done well there, to be fair. You have. And we get different ones every time we've gone from actors, celebrities, footballers. I think of the footballers really. I love to meet some of the Everton legends to see when we were actually really good at football. I'd love to chat to them all about that. But that is
Yeah, I've got to meet a few and chat to a few legends on our channel. So I was trying to think of ones, I interviewed Clyde Best, who was one of the like
oh,
prominent
really?
early black players and amazing stories about Bobby Moore and stuff like that. So we've got a few of those for me, the football players that were unattainable. Where if I thought of players that were good for us recently in recent years, they'd be like so boring, a lot of them, but nothing about them. Antonio
Really?
seems like be a laugh to go out with, to be fair.
Yeah, he does his podcast with Callum Wilson as well. He's quite interested on that, isn't he? But yeah,
Yeah, much to the fans' ire sometimes.
he annoys us when he talks negatively about Richarlison. But that's football, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah. I know you still love Richarlison at Everton.
We do, mate. We do. But that is all from the opposition view today. We hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, Everton can get one over the line on Sunday against West Ham. Thanks so much for coming on, Dan.
Thanks for having me, mate. Really enjoyed that chat, and yeah, very gonna be really eye opening to see what happens for both teams on Sunday.
As we've said, it's a big game for both sides, isn't it? So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. But we hope you enjoyed. Please do leave a like and a comment and let us know what you think. But that's all for now. See you in a bit.